Well, going into harvest, we're pretty excited because we've got a really good crop out in the field. Across the Midwest, especially in western Kansas, where we produce a lot of the sorghum in the United States, it's looking like a tremendous crop. But probably the biggest concern we've got is the lack of international markets. So China's been one of our biggest buyers in the past, and with trade negotiations still in progress there, that really shuts off one of our biggest markets. So right now, there's elevators in western Kansas that are at a dollar basis under corn, and that makes it pretty cheap sorghum and really cuts into our profits. Makes it really tough to even break even in some fields, even when we're raising a tremendous crop. So that's kind of concerning. It's exciting to raise the bushels, but we sure want to sell it.
At the top of my mind as we head into soybean harvest really is two things: commodity prices and weather. I think we're going to have a really good crop here in Kansas, or at least it's looking like it so far. And weather has been a factor. We've had kind of a wet summer, and that can slow things down as we get into harvest. Another thing that we're somewhat worried about this year is commodity prices. They're lower than they have been, so we'd like to see a boost in that. Maybe a boost in basis as we head into the fall months. Our soybeans are going towards fuel here in the state of Kansas, or oil or meal, whatever it may be. Trade still impacts the price. So even if our beans aren't being shipped overseas, trade is especially important when it comes to commodity prices. And right now we're seeing we have a very contentious time as far as trade goes. There have been a lot of new trade agreements reached, but we haven't seen the markets react to those. We also, I don't like to rely on one person, one country to buy all our soybeans, but in the past, China has accounted for 25% of our trade. And so if we're not going to be able to trade with China and with those partners, we have to find other partners to continue to boost the sales of our products that we grow here in the States.
I think start with the positive, except for a few areas, seeing some just amazing yield potential coming out of this corn crop. I know on my own farm yesterday we started picking wet corn and seeing some record yields. With that brings, what do we do with it? So top of mind is continuing to develop export markets, make sure our friends at the livestock industry are well equipped to purchase our products, and then continued development in biofuels, because there's just going to be a lot of commodities this year, and we need to just keep our foot on the gas on the demand side.
Thinking about several things going into fall. Obviously, wheat seeding is coming up. We'll start that in October. Really grateful that we have some good moisture at this point, at least ways it looks like to be seeding into, which is a nice feeling, nice change from the last several years. But very mindful of fertilizer prices, particularly starter fertilizers that we're going to be using on wheat, like anything that's containing fertilizer or containing phosphorus. 40 Rock, for instance, and 1240 MESZ is around $900 or more per ton in our area. I don't think I've ever paid that much for phosphorus per unit. So we're thinking about, can we cut back on rates with high fertilizer prices, kind of record high fertilizer prices and record low commodity prices? That's really just, we have to be really mindful of our budgets. Hard to make those budgets work out. How are we going to balance that economically and agronomically? On the other side, we're also looking at fall harvest. We'll have some decent yields, which is encouraging. Again, economics are not the best with low grain prices, but it will be at least ways nice to harvest some bushels.
Definitely just where they're going to work and what they're going to go into. It can be, am I going to go back to the family farm, or am I going to even need to find a job outside of that, and maybe communications or technology, or somehow still be involved with agriculture?
At the top of the mind right now is getting the crops out. The weather has been a very much of a challenge this year, with a lot of drought and then a lot of rain here lately. We've got a pretty good crop that we'd like to get out this fall, and so being able to work with the weather. Prices are on our mind. We've got, like I said, we have a really good crop, but getting those crops sold, and then and on the national level, getting those crops to the people that need them, whether it's overseas, whether it's in the domestic markets, working with our trade representatives and and our commodity groups to get those crops into the hands that can do some good with them.
I talked to a lot of farmers, and the main thing, the main issue of concern right now is price. Price of commodities. Commodity prices right now are at pretty much all-time lows. There's a lot of concern about whether there's going to be enough money at the end of harvest to pay the bills on those inputs. The seed costs, the fertilizer costs, fuel, labor, machinery, repairs, all of that. So cost on both sides, price on both sides. But then again, also the issue that a lot of farmers are worried about is if there's going to be a home for their commodities. With the tariffs and the trade war, there's a lot of folks that are worried about that grain piling up and being stored and not going where it needs to go all over the world. So those are the big issues I'm hearing.